You are sitting in a room full of people right now, and you have never been more alone in your life. Maybe not today, maybe not this exact moment, but you know the feeling. Most people do. And the strange part is that we have more ways to reach each other than any humans who have ever lived. More devices, more platforms, more contact options than all of history combined. And somehow that sentence didn't make you feel better. It made you feel worse, because you already know the number of ways to send a message has nothing to do with whether anyone actually sees you. Here is what nobody tells you about that feeling. It is not a modern failure. Your brain was not built for the world you are living in. It was built for something much older, much stranger, and far more demanding. And when researchers started studying the actual mechanics of how ancient humans managed loneliness, what they found destroyed almost every assumption about what connection is supposed to look like. If you're enjoying this so far, hit the like button and subscribe. It genuinely helps. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I actually read them. Start with the number 150. In 1992, British anthropologist Robin Dunbar at University College London published a study correlating primate brain size with average social group size. The bigger the neocortex relative to the rest of the brain, the larger the stable social group the animal maintained. He ran the numbers for humans. The result was 150. That is the maximum number of people the human brain can hold an active social relationship at one time. Not followers. Not contacts, relationships with real history, real obligation, real stakes. Beyond 150, the brain cannot track the social complexity. People become strangers even if you know their name. Dunbar called it the cognitive limit of human community. His colleagues were skeptical. Then historians started checking the number against the archaeological record, and it kept showing up everywhere. Roman military units were capped around 150 men. Neolithic farming villages in the archaeological record cluster around 150 residents. The Hutterites, a religious group that has been farming communally since the 1600s, split every community the moment it crosses 150 people. Their elders told researchers they do this because once a group passes that size, you can no longer shame people into good behavior. Shame only works when everyone knows everyone else. Dunbar's number was not a theory. It was a description of a hard biological limit that human societies had been working around for thousands of years without knowing why. But 150 is just the outer boundary. Dunbar kept going. Inside that group of 150, he found layers, an innermost circle of about 5 people. These are the ones you call when something goes wrong at 2 in the morning. A second layer of roughly 15, close friends and family with real intimacy. A third layer around 50, the people whose lives you track and care about. The full 150 on the outer edge, familiar faces with shared history. Each layer requires a different kind of maintenance, a different frequency of contact, a different emotional investment. Your ancient ancestor was not managing 150 relationships at once as an achievement. They were doing it as a survival requirement. Because in a band of 150 people moving across open ground with no state, no police, no hospital, and no supply chain, every single one of those relationships was a form of insurance. The man you helped carry a kill 3 seasons ago might be the one who helps feed your children if the hunt fails. The woman you comforted when she lost her baby might be the one who knows which routes are safe when the usual food runs out. Every relationship was a thread in a net that kept you alive. Loneliness in that world was not a mood. It was a warning signal from your nervous system that the net was tearing. The mechanism ancient humans used to maintain those relationships was not conversation the way we think of it. In 2009, Dunbar published a follow-up study tracking what people actually talk about when they talk to each other. Roughly 65% of all human conversation, across cultures, across continents, across every social context he observed, was social information. Who is doing what with whom? Who can be trusted? Who behaved badly last week and why? What happened between those two people at the gathering? We call it gossip, and we say it like it is a flaw. Dunbar argued it is the primary social technology of the human species. Grooming is how other primates maintain their bonds. A chimpanzee spends hours picking through the fur of an ally, and that physical contact is what holds the relationship together. It works, but it has a hard ceiling. You can only groom one animal at a time. Language let humans groom multiple relationships simultaneously. You sit around a fire and tell a story about something that happened to someone in the group, and 6 people at once update their understanding of the social world. You have just maintained 6 relationships in the time it used to take to maintain one. Dunbar called it vocal grooming. It sounds reductive until you realize it means every conversation your ancestors had, every piece of shared information, every story told in the dark was doing structural work on the group, keeping the net intact. But the net was not just maintained by information. There was a second mechanism, and researchers almost missed it entirely because it looked like nothing. In 2017, social neuroscientist John Cacioppo at the University of Chicago published the final major findings of a decades-long study on loneliness. Cacioppo had been tracking lonely and non-lonely individuals since the 1990s, measuring physiology, behavior, and social outcomes. One finding kept surfacing that his team could not initially explain. Lonely people, on average, went to sleep earlier and woke more often during the night. Their sleep was shallower. Their bodies stayed in a state of low-level vigilance even while unconscious. Cacioppo traced it back through evolutionary biology and landed on a conclusion that reframed everything. The lonely brain is a brain that has registered a threat. Social disconnection in humans triggers the same ancient alarm system as physical danger. Your body prepares for attack. Cortisol stays elevated. Inflammation markers rise. The immune system shifts from long-term maintenance into short-term emergency mode because an isolated human on the ancestral savanna was a human in genuine danger of dying. The brain could not tell the difference between being alone in a modern apartment and being separated from the band in open territory at night. It ran the same program either way. If this is making you think, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss one. This channel only exists because of the people who share these videos, and I don't take that lightly. Cacioppo's data showed that chronic loneliness carried health consequences comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, not metaphorically. In terms of measurable mortality risk, the mechanism was that sustained inflammatory response slowly degrading cardiovascular and immune function over years. The body was spending its repair budget on a threat that never resolved. And the loneliness epidemic Cacioppo was documenting in 21st century populations was not, he argued, a cultural failure or a failure of character. It was a mismatch. A brain running a 300,000-year-old survival program inside a social structure that had been completely redesigned in roughly 2 generations. Ancient humans did not kill loneliness by being together constantly. Proximity alone was never the solution. Cacioppo's research made that clear. Lonely people can be surrounded by others and still run the alarm. What the brain requires is not bodies nearby. It is the specific signal that those bodies know you, owe you something, and would notice if you disappeared. That signal has a name in the research literature. It is called perceived social integration. And it cannot be faked by a notification count or a follower number or a reaction to something you posted at midnight. The Juhoansi Bushmen of the Kalahari, the same group anthropologist Polly Wiesner studied for her 2014 fire research, had a practice called Hxaro, a slow, deliberate exchange of gifts between individuals across different bands, not trading. The gifts were often impractical, decorative. The point was not the object. The point was the obligation it created. The person who received a gift owed a return at some unspecified future time. That open debt was a thread, a reason to find each other again. Across hundreds of miles of desert, people maintained relationships through carefully managed incompleteness. They stayed connected by leaving something unfinished between them. That is what your brain is still looking for. Not more contact. An open thread. Someone who is waiting on something from you, and you from them. The humans who survived were not the ones with the most connections. They were the ones whose connections had weight. Thank you for watching until the end. If this changed how you see something, check out the videos on screen. I think they will hit the same way. And subscribe if you haven't. See you in the next one.